Hello garden friends, welcome back to the Yarden. I'm David Sabio. I want to take a moment today to talk to you about candle pruning. No, not these candles. The candles on a pine. So what I have here is a contorted white pine, Pinus strobus tuberosa, and I maintain this bushiness and a little bit of padded feature, slightly obscured because what we're going to do is prune it today, is by cutting off or cutting back these candles. I know pruning can be an intimidating feature of gardening, and there's a lot more wiggle room with it than a lot of us anticipate, but it is a little more important with the pines. And being early May, this is the perfect time to do this because pruning these tends to lead to a little bit of bleeding. But if we do it now before the heat really settles in, it's usually fine. I've been doing this for years, and when we're done, I'll have this bushed up, ready to sort of pad out again and stay bushy. Also control some height. This wants to be a bigger tree, but it's not a big deal because I only have to do this one time a year right now. And in a few moments, we'll get up in on these and kind of show you what I'm talking about. So you can see here on the end of this branch, we get a whorl, and sometimes I have 4 here, sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 3. Ideally, and this is up to you for your aesthetic, but I typically want to leave 2. And in this case, this one's very long, and I won't need it at all, so I'm going to take that one out. And I could leave the 3, but I can see this one's actually going to go back a little bit. So I will remove that one as well. And in this case, neither one of these are particularly long enough for me to cut. But as you can see in something like this, it's much longer. And for the sake of demonstration, because I have a lot more taller, longer ones you can see up top here, where what I'm about to do is gonna make a bigger difference. But here, if I wanted to keep this, I may come back to a few nodes here and remove that. And that will become a new branch, which eventually will probably put off 2 more or 3 more next season. And in this case, I'm going to leave all 3 here. So this is personal preference. As a rule of thumb, I find that usually 2 is enough. But it will also determine where we are in the bush. This is the shadier side of the bush. Over there, I would imagine we've got a little bit more vigorous growth, just like we do at the top. And so it's just a judgment call. We'll make branch to branch. But I will go through each one of these just like I demonstrated and either remove an entire candle or cut a candle in half or in a third. I can probably do all of this now, but I also may do it over the course of, sometimes I break it out, like I'll do half the tree one weekend and the other half another. But the idea is to do it about this time of year, at least here in the Piedmont. I have found to be safe without with little repercussion to the tree, and I keep getting this gorgeous, beautiful, fluffy tree. So while I have your attention, I figured we'd come up top where you can see a lot more vigorous growth. That's a huge candle, and admittedly last year I didn't prune the top, so you can see I have pretty good length here. That's last year's growth, and I could have cut it, but I decided to give the tree a break. And I'll be honest with you, I also had some just scheduling issues, and it got too late for me to do it. But this is not atypical up here where it's a little sunnier, it gets more light. That's way too long, because otherwise I'm going to keep getting long branches. So here I've got a whorl of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is completely unnecessary and too long, but I don't even need to shorten it. I'm actually going to get in there and take this one out. I have one that's kind of growing back towards the center, and again, I don't need all of them in the whorl. Take that one out. This one I actually don't need as well, because I also noticed there's a little short one there. So in this case, I have 3 left. And due to the weight, I'm going to actually leave this one just to kind of fill this in. But yeah, again, go to the next one again. I can see I do not need something this long. That is if I want to keep this bushy and padded like I've been doing over the years. But here's one that I've only got 2 in the world, so I'm just going to cut that one in half. I can come here, there's 3. Don't need the center one, and again, typically you'll kind of see that the center one tends to be long, but you'll be able to make the judgment as you move around your plant. And again, I'll just continue this all around the top, but I wanted to show you how aggressive some of these can be, and if I were to keep leaving these, this would grow out and just flop over, especially with what I've been doing. It would kind of ruin the form. Yeah, it's a bit of a, certainly an exercise in pruning, but this really doesn't take a lot of energy. I just move around, I see you're just kind of creating that quick aesthetic, and like I said, in no time you'll be done. And when I get through it, I'll show you just how nice it looks. You'll see this kind of crazy wispiness will be gone. It'll look bushier again, and that will harden off for the through the growing season, and just keep this sort of very fun bushy shape. I don't particularly see anything that I feel I need to cut out. I'm not looking for like a super layer padded look. I'm actually more after a bushy aesthetic than I am like a full pad. But I may find something in here every now and then, and that would be a matter of just cutting a little branch out, which I'd be comfortable with on a healthy plant like this. But for the most part, all I'm doing is trimming back the candles to get the effect I'm after. Like here, this is only 2. I actually want both of them. I'm just going to shorten this one. I'll go back to where I leave just a few needles and take that off, and that'll bush up. See a similar thing here. I just want to shorten this candle. I try to preserve the needles. Every now and then getting the scissors in there it's a little tricky. Practice your best diligence. Again, this time I'm not super worried about a lot of very bad damage, especially if we have great weather. It's cool, overcast. But you get the idea, and just work your way around your pine and give this little haircut. So you can definitely see here the much more vigorous growth. This is the sunnier side of this pine, and just like I've been doing, these long ones are going to get cut off or dramatically cut back. But like in the case of this one, this long middle one here is coming out. So I'll keep moving around. I did have to break this effort into a couple of days. Ran out of time the other night, and then we got a much needed and very significant rain. But that's fine. Keeps the temps down, and I figure it's good for the little bit of trauma I'm creating on this thing. Because again, timing for this is fairly important. And I emphasize it only with this because the pines can essentially bleed to death, death by 1,000 cuts, if you will. It's not guaranteed, but you get too late, it gets a little harder. So doing it now really allows for it to harden off. Plus, this is the growth for this year. So go ahead and take it back let it harden off, and they'll be ready to put new ones out next season and do it all again. So here I am up top. I've kind of gone at this with some abandon because, you know, I didn't cut it last year, like I said, and there's some height that, you know, just comes with leaving that, as well as even if I leave some of these, even if it's an inch, that's an inch more. And I know it wants to be a tree, and right now I'm comfortable keeping it sort of contained. But I've actually removed a lot of the candles up here just because this year I kind of just want to kind of keep it where it's at. And so I will, you know, I've left a couple. You can see a few freshies, but for the most part I've taken a lot of them off up here in hopes of just keeping it bushy, giving a nice round top over here, and again, prevent a little more height. I'm on just a little step ladder right now, but I really don't want to be on a giant ladder. At that point I either just got to let it be a tree or possibly remove it, and I'm not ready for that. This is too beautiful of a plant. It fills the spot nicely. It's a beautiful color. I got Rigucci clematis down below, which I might be able to get a picture of in a moment. That looks really great against it. So just pointing out that, again, stronger side here. Again, that's my sun this way. So I've got to do a little more work, and I can go just a little more vigorous. And again, I've just got great weather now. It's not been a very hot May, with the exception of a few days, but right now we're in the 70s. It's been overcast with the rain. I think we actually got rain coming. I'm hoping I can finish this up, but if not, it'll be okay. So now I'm coming around to almost finishing this up. This is the garden facing side of this pine, and again, I told you we have Rigucci, which grows up against it, and that's just amazing. Again, this is sort of that monochromatic complement. So I got the kind of blue-green foliage of the Rigucci leaves, along with these awesome, almost metallic-looking purple blooms against the kind of blue-green of the pine. You can still see a few candles I got to get to there. There's really fresh, long green ones. But about done. And you can see it'll just be a little bushy thing. It's a little amorphous, and again, that's fine. I just want the texture and the color of this thing, and plus it's neat that, you know, the needles are contorted and kind of swirl around, so you have a swirl on the whirl. But yeah, I'm just about done here. I'll reassess it and look for any funny spots or weird ones, and it should be good to go. Alright, so I'm back on the driveway side. Pretty much done here. Like I said, fairly decent jobs. That will be done. Gotta get a little second bucket of candles there. Yeah, you see a few clematis bloom seed heads too. There's one growing next to me on the Chamaecyparis, and I went ahead and cut those off, hopes of forcing some reblooms. That's for another time, but anyway, not too bad. You can see it looks good. A little less sloppy. Not that that's really a bad thing. It's a really fun plant. I do see, here's something real quick. You can kind of see here, if I can stand back, it looks kind of like a pad right here. And again, I'm not really trying to pad this thing out. This is not an Asian garden. It's not the aesthetic I'm fully after. There's some Asian elements in the garden, but first of all, I don't have that kind of restraint. Now, I can restrain the mess out of a plant, and that actually will probably be a topic for another episode. But anyway, it's I do notice kind of like this funny stray branch right here. I don't know that it's contributing. See the way it kind of hangs out there, and just so I have some options here. I mean, I could leave it. I think I've been sort of nursing this along, hoping it would be better, but it has stayed kind of spindly. The thing is you have to leave some green on these if it's going to push anything else. If I were to say cut like right here, it's not like this is going to re-bush up. This branch will die, but I'm starting to wonder, do I even need the branch? Like I said, move that out of the, I'm sorry, move that out of the way, and I may clip that, because I just give that just a nice little layered look. You know, I could go in and lean out that gap there, but again, I'm not really trying to make full pads. I'm really just trying to keep it bushy, and that was the point of this little video, just to show you sort of the process and the timing. So I know I've mentioned timing with pruning a number of times here, and again, I feel like there's some wiggle room with some things. There's always a timing issue with pruning. It's a little more important with the pine. I say that because, like, you know, taking an azalea, if I were to prune too late, I cut the blooms off for the next season, but the plant is generally okay. I just won't have the display. But here, again, it's important that I do this around now. I actually have a repeating reminder on my calendar, usually around the first weekend in May, to get this process started, and usually be done by mid-May. Again, that's if I have to do it over a couple of days or a couple of weekends. But again, it needs to be done so that those candles have a chance to harden off and before all the heat comes on. Because again, if I do it too late, this quite literally could bleed to death. It's sort of death by 1,000 cuts, and I certainly don't want to do that. I'd be better off leaving a long candle and trying again later, like I did last season. So anyway, I hope this was a good video for you, a little something to think about. Those of you that have a pine that maybe you're trying to figure out how to control a little bit, or kind of gain a different aesthetic for it. You know, whether it's by giving it a shape you're after, or even controlling it in a space. Again, these cuts are fairly small. Again, I'm not hacking at this. I mean, there could very easily be a nice, big, beautiful tree, but I didn't really give it that space. And I'm okay with doing this, you know, while I'm capable, and it's fairly easy. Again, it took me just 2 afternoons, and even that's not like all afternoon. It's just I ran out of time the first time. And again, I thought it was about to rain. Now it still could. I wonder if this is going to kick off a thunderstorm. But anyway, till next time, I'll see you in the Yarden.